Hargrave for handling that for me. I appreciate it. All right. Hebrews chapter 10. We'll look at Hebrews chapter 10, 11, and 12. And probably won't go to chapter 11 today. Maybe, we'll see. In Hebrews chapter 10, again, just as a way of reminder, the focal point is not, Hebrews chapter 11, the focal point is not really all the different heroes of faith. It's not about those individual heroes of faith so much as it is that they are witnesses, and the focal point is Christ. That's why when you look at chapter 12, in chapter 12 it says, wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. The word patience carrying over from chapter 10. And now the refocusing and the purpose of showing us why it's not about them, it's all about Him. It's all about Christ. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set down before Him endured the cross, despising the shame. Now give us an example of how Christ went forward faithful. We know that's even in His names, faithful and true. He's faithful. It's not about us. And this is all about showing us how faithful God is in every single situation. Every situation. God is faithful and can't be trusted. He never leaves us nor forsakes us. There's no task too big or too small that God is not interested in helping you with, walking through it with you. That's why He wants us to stay focused on Him, to increase our faith, to strengthen us. Faith, what thinks about the things that faith can do sometimes. But He wants to strengthen us. He wants to be able to walk through it with us. But He wants us to keep the same mindset before it, going through it, and coming out of it. That's where you see, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. That blessedness, the translators that want to try to come up with all these new versions, and I think everybody knows exactly where I stand on that. But if you don't, I'm King James only in every aspect, even in my study. Whether anybody likes that or not, I don't need to go to any other one to study out of. I don't need to. It's unnecessary. Anyhow, I was about to go off on thinking about something with that, but we'll go on from that. It's not necessarily we do that. That word blessed, the reason they get that, they want to often change it to some other word. They'll often liken it to happy or very happy or very, very happy, as if they're going to say, verily, verily or something. They're adding to that and all, and that's exactly what they're doing, adding to it. That word blessed is something different. It's more than happiness. It's more than joy. It's something similar to that. It's what allows, and I'm not going to get onto what it is because I'll preach that otherwise, but it's what lets us go through into something, through something, and out of something with the exact same heart, the exact same attitude, the exact same desire. Doesn't mean you won't have struggles or trials or troubles, but you'll know that the Lord is there with you the entire time, no matter what it is you're going through, and you'll have the right focus. And He gives us the pattern of how to have that. The main thing is keeping the main thing, Christ. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. He's the one who's authored it, and He's the one who's going to finish it. He started it, and He'll write it all the way through. And I promise you, He'll finish the last chapter. He knows exactly what He's doing, and there'll not be an error in it at all. But that's what this is about. That's what 11 is about. Now, look at me in chapter 10, verse, I think we finished up somewhere around verse 36. So we'll read verse 36 and go down. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of God, ye might receive the promise. I'm not going to get into the might receive the promise part, because that's a whole long thing in itself. But I'll give you an example of somebody who struggled to do that after having done great things. Elijah. Elijah stands there as a man of God, and a prayer that is shorter than most prayers given at a Thanksgiving dinner, depending on who your family is. some of y'all laughed and all. Some people, man, they pray all the way around the entire world. I'm only joking. That's not a bad thing. Just having a little fun with it. Some of y'all look like you're still waking up, or like you're not liking my preaching at all, or teaching, or whatever it's supposed to be. That's okay. But it says you have need of patience. He went into that situation sold out that God was right, that God was true. He loved his nation so much, he had so much faith in God that he prayed. And by the way, I believe when the Bible says that if you pray, I believe God will move mountains for you. I believe that physically and spiritually. I don't see any reason why God would do the physical at this point and the whole unfolding of all of the Bible. I don't see a purpose in that now, so I don't think he's going to. I don't think that would be in his will. I don't think that's going to happen. But I do think he'll do a lot of other things, obviously. But you said, why do you believe that if it was needful to recast the entire mountain, that God would actually do that? He changed the weather pattern for an entire nation and surrounding areas, potentially beyond that even. He changed the weather pattern because one man was sold out to God, believed that God could, and believed that he believed that if he prayed and asked God to not let it rain, because he knew that would draw the people back to God, as it had in many times past. He knew that if he did, and God would honor that he could possibly be a part of seeing the will of God for the people of God being brought back to God. He believed he could see it done, and he prayed earnestly, and it didn't rain. God allowed him, through prayer, to have a part in seeing God change the entire weather pattern. Weather forecasters can't even get that figured out. It's one of the only jobs, one or two jobs I know, that you can get things wrong half the time and get promoted. You say, what's the other one? Politics. Politicians. They can get it wrong at least half the time or more and still get promoted. It's almost a badge of honor if they do it. Anyhow, but then he shows us why. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come and will not tarry. There's going to come a point where this is all done, not based upon whether we are tired of it, whether we're weary of it, or whether we're ready for it to move on or not. There's going to come a point when God's done with it. He's coming back. It's done. Yeah. And we need, as C.T. Studd, only one life will soon pass, and only what's done for Christ will last. You know, I believe I'm in good company on this. The reason I do what I do is not because I couldn't make more money somewhere else. I made tons of money. I made lots of money. It's not trying to be braggadocious, but I owned 5 motorcycles, 1 car, 1 truck, and a boat, and lived in an apartment, so I didn't have to do lawn maintenance. So when I was off, I could go do what I wanted to do, and had other hobbies. And God said, that's not what you need to be doing. You're focused on the wrong thing. Called me in the ministry. Said, what do you own now? 1 vehicle. 1 vehicle. And some of the vehicles I've owned since then, they ran by persuasion. They ran by gasoline and persuasion. I thank God for them. I thank God for the times when I had to change out. I wasn't happy in the moment with it. But I thank God now, looking back, for the times where I had to change out axles on rear ends at 4 o'clock in the morning and on my way down to a conference. And call up the office and say, I think I'm going to be about a half a day late. They're like, you'll be all right, don't worry. I thank God for those times. They don't bother me a bit, because I want to do everything I can for Christ. And I believe I'm in good company on this. I believe everybody here wants to do the exact same thing. I believe everybody here does. Now he says, verse 38 is probably one of the focal points of the entire book of Hebrews. Not the only, but one of. And it's now the just shall live by faith. And that's a verse that's been brought over from the Old Testament and used 2 other times in the New Testament. And I'm not going to go into those. You can look them up yourself. But in the Old Testament, it was with Habakkuk, or however you want to say his name. All right? I got a feeling when we get to heaven, he's going to say, nope, y'all got it wrong. I had a friend who was from Louisiana, and it took me, he was a volunteer with the Rock of Ages. It took me a year to learn to say his name right. Every time I'd say it, he's like, nope, nope. And then one day as a joke, I said, it's brother, and I said his name as a joke, and I tried to like throw a crazy accent and mess it all up, and he goes, that's it. And I was like, great. Now I have no idea what I said and how to repeat it. Now it's going to take me another year to try to remember how to do that. But Habakkuk. And if you read the book of Habakkuk, you'll see what's going on. Habakkuk is exactly like us today in our generation, dealing in the comparison to America today is unreal. The comparison to the world today and Habakkuk, however you want to say it, it's just unremarkable how close it is. They had a border that was being invaded by foreigners, pushing their way in, threatening to overrun it. And they had preachers in the pulpit, or in that case, a preacher in the pulpit, sitting there saying, God, why are you letting me see all this trouble? Why are you letting me see all these things? Well, duh, so you could do something about it. So you can give hope to those that have no hope. You can give help to those that have no help. Guidance to those that have no guidance. Love to those that have no love. So you can be an effective tool for God in your world today. And they did nothing. He's trying to show them you did nothing with it. It's crazy. His response to it is in basically 3 stages. I'm on the ground looking around complaining about everything that's going on. What's wrong with this country today? Then I'm going to get up on my high tower and I'm going to get a better look from God because I'm the preacher and I'm a man and I'm going to look down on it. I'm going to get that look. And then God rebukes him on it. And next thing you know, I'm going to go pray and I'm going to admit God's holy and he's righteous. And though God may let nothing in the fields blossom or grow or anything like that, I'm going to ask God in wrath, remember mercy. And whatever he does, I'm good with it. That's obviously not the exact, you could go back and read it, you'll see that's what's going on. It's not the exact wording of it. But what he's showing us there is Habakkuk's problem was, God told him, he said, the just shall live by his faith. He made it personal for Habakkuk. How'd you like that? At least in the New Testament, he just says the just shall live by his faith. That way you can sit at least like the 3rd row back or somewhere, and you can dodge everything your preacher's preaching at you, right? And you can act like, well, he's not preaching to me. He's not talking to me. He's not. But the Holy Spirit of God is. God's dealing with you in your heart about it. I guarantee you he is. The just shall live by faith. Habakkuk he was trying to get Habakkuk to understand, if you'll live by faith, you can impact this entire nation. One person, 12 people turn the world upside down according to the Bible. And I believe it. There's enough people here, at least here, to turn Cleveland, Tennessee upside down for the cause of Christ. There's enough churches around here to do that. But are there enough people willing to live by faith? Let God have full control of everything and trust him in it and follow him through it. Let him lead you through life. Let him make your choices for you. Let him make your decisions for you and trust him and stand firm in every situation following him. There's enough people here to do it. The just shall live by faith. Then he reassures him. Next is my soul shall have no pleasure in him. Let me go back and read that. Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. That's not, you don't want to be on that side of it. But he says, but we are not of them who draw back under perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul. If you trusted Christ for your eternal destination, name me a greater thing that you can't trust him for. Name me something greater you can't trust him for. Your kids? How many times? Well, we've just got to go and do this, we've got to do that, we've got to do, I don't want to lose my family. Maybe if you serve God and stay closer to Him, you wouldn't lose them. I understand you got to have time off. You got to come apart or you'll come apart. I get that. I get that. But sometimes we come so far apart, I don't know if we're coming back together with Christ. Amen? But we are not of them that draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul. We're not, if you're saved, you ought to have that desire to go forward for Christ. I'm going to stop there. I know it's 5 minutes early, but there's the next verses. There is no way that 5 minutes, it'll ruin the next message. So we'll just leave it at that. All right? Brother Devin, you want to lead us in a verse?
I will sing of